So yesterday what we did was we load the context. Okay, you means your application context. We load the application context with the help of bin factory. Okay, so we'll check what is bin factory is, and there is a super versions of the bin factory that is called the application context. Okay, so whatever we done it with the bin factory, we can do the same thing with the application context. So let us use these let us load the your application context with the help of application, sorry, yeah, so let's help your spring context or application context being metadata with the help of application context. Okay, see, so this is the another UI we have. So same thing, you see, instead of bin factory we are just using the application context, and rest of the things are same. Okay, we haven't changed anything there. So the application context XML we had, it is the same thing. Your text editor, spell editor, all the same thing. Only difference is earlier we used to have this bin factory which is nothing but the API. Okay, instead of that we are just using application context. So now let me just run this application. Yeah, so you see, so it is also did the same thing, right? So whatever the task bin factory was doing, application context is doing the same thing. Fine. So then there should be, and just keep in mind, it is in general question, if you could do something with a different approach, then you have to understand why there are different approaches are there. Okay, otherwise if both our approaches are doing the same thing, definitely we don't need either, right? I mean either one, we can just should have only one, it shouldn't have the multiple stuff. Okay, so here is the same thing. So bin factory, it is a very basic thing. I mean this API used, these APIs is used to load the and instantiate the bin. But application context is also another thing, that is also the interface which is extended from this your bin factory plus some additional feature. Okay, so we'll discover like what is the difference between the application context and your bin factory. Okay, so gradually we know like why we need it and what are the facilities your application context is giving. Okay, so you also search in Google, and it is, as I said, it is in general sense. Whenever we have the multiple options, multiple way of doing the things, you have to know like why I am using this one instead of that one. Okay, so tutorial for you will be the question, what is the difference between the bin factory and your application context, which one is the better, and why the that one is better. Okay, so this will be your tutorial for the next class. Fine. Now let me focus more on application context. Okay, okay, so now if you remember, we had this text editor. Okay, and we had this spell checker, and as we know like there is a dependency between your text editor and your spell checker, right? And the dependency how we have resolved with the help of the spring bin, this is the your configuration, right? It is your bin configuration, isn't it? So there are different ways or different technique you have in the spring by which you can inject the bin. So this is another way of injecting the bin. Okay, and if you see, this bin is we have injecting from the inside of this your bin, inside of this parent bin configuration, right? So this is your parent bin which is having the reference of your spell checker, and inside the spell checker we are just supplying this spell checking stuff. Okay, this reference. So this technique is called the inner bin style. What is that? See, if we are declaring something, we are supplying or injecting the instance, or yeah, if you are supplying the bin instance in this technique, then this is called inner bin technique. Okay, fine. Yeah, great. Now you see, we have done the same thing in the case of setter injection. Okay, we have in the setter injection, what we did, we have declared the reference bin outside of the bin tag, right? And we use this reference, we had given the reference of that your injecting bin, right? So here we have used the inner tag, we have used the inside that bin, here we have used this outside the bin, right? And it is also doing the same thing. So both the cases, I mean, whether you are using the inner bin or whether using that bin from the outside, it is doing the same thing, but technique is different. Okay, then definitely, as I said, if you have multiple options, then there are definitely some differences are there, and definitely there are some cases are there by which we need to apply or we choose one with respect to other based on the situation. Okay, now as this is, you see, it is a as outside of this bin. So if same thing, I mean same bin we are injecting uh, in other bin also, what is that? For example, your text editor is a simple text editor. Okay, now for example, you have the smart text editor. So I am creating a smart text editor. Okay, in that smart text editor, you have this spell checking facility. Okay, you have spell checking facility, plus it can also format the text. Okay, so just like your spell checker, we can create another class called, say, your formatter. Okay, font formatter. Okay, and as you know, a spell checker we have. Okay, so instead of creating a new or separate spell checker for your smart text editor, we can also create the same spell checker for others also. So same spell checker we can use it for the text editor, same spell checker we can use it for smart editor. Okay, so now to inject that, so what we'll do is we have to create, yeah, we have to create same instance, right? We have to create the same configurations for this, and as I'll say, it is a smart text editor, and yeah, it is the same location, say smart text editor. Fine, and you see, it also needs a spell checker, right? So so the spell checker I have. Okay, so we are just instantiating here, so that same instance we can inject it here. Okay, and now, so as I said, your smart spell checker may have the other facilities. Say for example, you have font formatter. So again we'll do a font formatter. Okay, font formatter, and either reference of the font formatter. Fine, and this font format is nothing but your spell checker. So similarly, we can create another bin just like this. Okay, so this is your font formatter. Fine, so the point I want to clear is, if we are declaring a bin outside, okay, or independently, just like this bin tag, you can basically reuse this. Okay, but the first approach what I said is, when we are putting it as an inner bin, we can't reuse that same instance. Means every time, I mean, if we are doing the same thing for the smart editor, just like this, every time you have to again declare the same thing. Okay, so say font smart text editor. Okay, and here fine, and here we have to have a spell checker, and again for the another thing we have to do the same thing, right? So this will be your font formatter, right? So every time if we know it is a same thing we are doing, then we have to just again write the same syntax, or we have to create the another configurations for that. Okay, so that's why if we feel like the bin you are using, that is not be used, that will not be used for other bin. Okay, so we will use this approach, like we'll just inject that as an inner bin. If we feel like that is that will be used for other bin also, then we declare that outside bin. Okay, so these are the two basic difference. Now I will tell you some cases, maybe for now I'll just give you the high level, and later on when we'll be doing more advanced stuff, then we can explain it more. For example, like say you have a bin which is doing basically database connectivity. Okay, now as you know, like irrespective of what are the modules you have, say 1 2 3 modules, and if every modules need your database connection. Okay, so in that case you can create a bin for this database connector just like this, and just inject it. Okay, inject it in this way. What is that? Yeah, just inject it. So you have say class A configuration something like this. Okay, and you have say class B configuration just like this. Okay, and you just inject it your database connection. Okay, connection. So this is the way you can basically reuse the code. Fine. Okay, great. So then what is the difference when you are using the inner bean style? In that case, you see you have to basically doing the same configurations again. And if not, if that is independence piece and that is required for all other beans also, then you have to declare that outside of that bean, and just like this. Okay, how we are doing it, spell checker configurations as a separate bean. Okay, now if you are done, then let me move to the next question. Okay, so as I said, like application context, wherever we have used a bean factory, instead of bean factory we can use application context. And we just shown you the example like how we could do that, and the task for you will be to see what is the difference between your bean factor and application context. Okay, and we'll check like what is your understanding, and if any doubt we'll discuss that there. Now now we are bit familiar with your this application context dot xml. Okay, so we'll unfold the other options. Okay, when we are basically declaring the blueprint for the beans, what are the options we have? So that we will discuss it now. One of them is, let me go through. Okay, so this application context.xml is called again that configuration metadata for the string. Okay, and there are three different ways to configure this metadata. Okay, what is that? Number one is XML based configuration, right? Just what we did, application context.xml. Okay, next one is annotation based configuration. Have you heard this terminology, annotation? Okay. Okay. So I am not going to tell you details for now. We have a separate session, maybe one or two or three sessions we'll spend on annotation. That time we'll discuss it further. Okay. And I'll tell you the details. So whatever the things we have done with this XML configuration, same thing we can also accomplish with the help of these annotation based configurations. Okay. And we'll tell you like what is the advantages of that. I mean annotations over XML. Yeah, it is same thing. Okay, so annotations, you know, it is the same thing. So that same concept we'll be using here. So okay, great. So same thing. Uh, what are the configurations we have done in XML? Same thing we can do with the help of this annotation. Okay, then we'll go through and do have some hands-on on that. And third one is the Java base. So whatever you we could do in the XML or in the annotation, same thing we could do with just Java. So you don't need any annotation, you don't need any XML. Okay, so these two things we'll just cover step by step. Fine. Yeah. Now, so as I explained, like this style is called the inner bean style. Okay, and this bean is called the external bean style. Okay, so when you are declaring a bean as an external configuration, then you have to put the reference by this reference tag. Okay, so this is your reference tag. You have to always use this reference tag. Okay, now let me go to the next one. Now, what are the different thing you can put with the different attributes of the bean? Okay, so as we know, in the configuration we have this id, right? Let me go to the code. Okay, what we have used id and name. Okay, now let's check. We have used id and name. Okay, let's check what are the different options are there. So spacebar and control spacebar, you see different options are there. Fine. So we have the name, we have the scope. Okay, we have yeah. So a is the your attribute. Okay, so we have abstract is true or not. Okay, later on we'll just unfold it all these attribute what we have, but we'll go step by step. Fine. Yeah, so we will have abstract, then we have auto add. Okay, we have this, then depends on. We'll go and unfold all these one by one. Now, for now, let's give you the name. Okay, so whatever the idea I mentioned, we have the name. Okay, so if we are calling, say name is uh, text editor name. Okay, so uh, if wherever we are using the id, we can use the name also. So let me give you this example. Now we have spring bean first example. Okay, so this was our id, so I am just replacing that with the name. Okay, so now you see get bean we are using id, and now we'll be using the name instead. So now let's run this application and let's see what happens. Okay, we did some mistake. Let's spell checker. Okay, we just remove this unwanted thing. Now I'll run it again. So here we have used the name. I just remove those unwanted thing. Okay, we just I just was showing you. So that things I just remove. Yeah. So the name we have given. Now we are using. We are trying to locate the bin with the help of bin name. Okay, not the bin ID. Fine. Now I'll be running it. See, we can also locate or find the bean in the application context by name also. Okay. Now, same is the alias. Okay, alias means mask name. Okay, so we can also use it alias. So let me go to the configuration. Okay, so name we know, alias means your pseudonym, right? Let me do that in the application context.xml. So here the name, here alias. Okay, let me check what happened to this alias. Okay, so this alias can be created in this way. Mm, okay, so alias, your name is this. Okay, and alias is name alias, right? So wherever we have used the name, we can just replace the alias. Okay, let me do this example here. Okay, it is loading slow. Okay, so you see that, right? I mean, we have created the alias corresponding to that bean name. Okay, and wherever we have used this name, we are just locating the bean with the help of the alias. Okay, now let's run it. See, so we can locate the bin with the help of ID, with the help of name, with the help of alias, right? Yeah, great. So now again the next questions for you. Then as we see, we can locate the bin. Okay, we can locate the bin either by ID, either by name, and either by alias, right? So task for you will be uh, unfolding when to use which one is the better, why should I use the ID, when should I use the name, when should I use the alias. Fine. Okay, similarly is the reference. Okay, now I shown you the reference tag. Yeah, so when you are giving a reference, I mean calling any dependent or depending, yeah, when you are giving the reference or dependent, you have to do it with the reference tag. So in the reference, either we can use the ID, okay, this bin ID, or we can use the name. Instead of say bin ID, here we have the bin name, or we can use the alias, okay. And the other cousin of the reference is the ID ref, okay. So what does it mean? If you have, you want to resolve the dependency by the ID, only ID, okay, not by name or not by alias, then we have to use this ID ref, okay. Now let me show you these two examples. So reference is to just mentioning the reference of the dependent, okay. That reference value, you can mention ID, you can mention name, or you can mention alias, okay. Similar to ID ref, similar to ref, you can also use the ID ref. If you are using the ID ref to resolve the or to supply the reference, then you have to mention only the ID. It will not work with the name or alias. Fine, let me show you that. Okay, so I am going to the configurations file and let's see what we could do. Okay, so okay, so I'll be closing this stuff. Now I'll open this one. Okay, in the reference we have used the ID, right? And we see, so let me give you the name. Okay, so we have the ID, spell checker. I'll give the name. So spell checker name. Okay, I'll give the spell checker name and I'll kill the alias corresponding to that name. Okay, fine. So far so good. Yeah, let's run it and let's see what happens. Okay, so similarly I am giving the name of my text editor also. Okay, what I name text editor name. Fine. Yeah. Okay, then how we are going to do the hands-on? isn't it? You have to do the hands-on, na? So what I'll do is I'll send you this code, okay, and you just have a look on it. Yeah, and also if you are coming at some point of time, I'll give you I'll give you this video also, okay. Yeah, so what we have done is we know how to use the ID, okay. We have this name and we know there is a alias corresponding to a name, fine. Similarly, in the spell checker case, we have spell checker name. Name is the spell checker name, right? Okay, and the corresponding to that spell checker name, you have the alias, okay. Now you see the bean definition, it doesn't follow any sequence. I mean, you can put it anywhere, here, that. uh, yeah, sequence doesn't matter actually, okay. So now let me call this with the help of the alias, right? So we are calling it with the help of alias, right? Now the reference, I mean, when you are injecting this reference, what I said, irrespective of the ID, now currently we have used this ID, right? We have used this bean ID. Instead of that, we'll reference it by name, okay. Now run it. See, in application context, in the reference tag, we haven't used the ID, okay. Instead of that, see, this is working right now. In your application context, instead of ID, we have used the alias, right? Sorry, we have used the name. Now instead of name, yeah, that's correct, yep, nothing else, yeah, okay. So now in the configurations file, in the reference, we have used the ID and checked it is running. We have used the name, we checked it is running, and now we have used it alias, fine. See, we have used the alias, okay. Now I'll be running my application again. See, so in the ref configuration, either you can put the name, you can put the ID, or you can put the alias, and we saw both all are working. Okay, now next point is ID ref. So instead of reference, I'll use that ID ref. Okay, let's run it. It will throw exception. See, it has throw exceptions. Okay, what exception it is throwing? XML is invalid. Okay, it will say line number 90, column 64, the property type either attribute. Okay, let me check what the issue. Then I am going back, then put the ID. Sorry. Okay, so Let me check the syntax of this id ref. Fine. So whatever we have done with the help of this reference, we are just using the id ref. Okay, now let me run it. What happened? Okay, we did some mistake, let me correct that. Okay, it is saying it can convert. Just let me check the syntax. Maybe I'm missing anything. Yeah, so what we are just showing, you saw that issue, right? What is happening? So issue I'll tell you. So normal point is in irrespective of the ID, okay, we can use the ID rep. Okay, let me go back and explain that it again. Now I am going back, right? So okay, fine. This is my closing tag, right? And now how we are putting the dependency is the ref, right? So this is my bin ID. Fine. Now if I run it, it will work fine. Okay. Now I'll do the same thing but in a different way. Just let me know when you can see the output. Yeah. So with the help of this, how we are putting the reference, that is fine, right? Now, what I'll do is, let me write it in the different way. Okay. So this is my bin tag and this is my closing properties tag. Okay. And now this is my ref. Okay. Fine. So we just added the syntax. Okay. Only difference is we are different. We are using the different syntax. That's it. Now what I'll do? Let me run it again. What happened? What mistake I have done? Bin is there, right? Okay, great. So instead of that, in the direct line, we can also configure that in the properties way. Okay. Now the question. So far it is clear what I have done. We are just putting the reference in the different format. Earlier, yeah. So earlier we had this reference here also, right? Yeah, reference. Then we just added the bin name. Okay, means bin ID. Now instead of that, yeah, instead of that, I just remove this part, and I use this ID. I use this reference tag. Yeah, sure. Yep. So what I was saying, instead of this, if I could do it in a use the ID rep. Okay. So instead of that, in then ID rep. Okay. Now what are the things are there? Bin and local. Okay. Now if I do the same thing, let's see what happen. It will give you the exception. Okay. Instead of ref, I am using the ID rep. Okay. And if you run it, it will give you the exception. Yeah, why? Because the reference I put it here, it is not treating as an object reference, it is treating as a bin. Okay, so then what I did, I just search it why it is happening now, because earlier it used to work. The reason is, so I do it from the Spring Forum. Okay, what they are saying is that this functionality has been removed. Okay, unfortunately the documents is not yet outdated, and there is a task in the Jira, so they have created a Jira request. Okay, now let me go to here if they have mentioned it here. Okay, so that is a deprecated stuff and no more used. That id ref no more used to give the reference with respect to the id. Okay, they don't have. It is not loading, so what I'll do is I just give it to you. Okay, so in short what I want to say is, as per the Spring Doc, id ref is now no more used. Yeah, id no more used to to put a reference. Okay, it is just to use only for the string type value. Okay, it is used only for the string type value. It is no more used for the bin tag. Okay, and we saw that's the problem. And as you were saying on that day, like I used to do, but I was getting exception. And I was not getting how to fix that. Okay, so this is how, whenever we are facing any problem, we just have to check in the reference. Maybe we are struggling something, and that part is already removed from the Spring. Okay, so in that case the issue may arise, right? So this is, now we know like how to use the name, how to use the alias, how to use the id ref, how to use the ref, right? So far, and how to use the application context. Yeah, so let me go through the next one. Yeah, inner bean we just gone through. Okay, so now in the bean tag, these are the things which you can basically mention: class, id, name. Scope, will go through what is scope. Constructor argument, which we already did. Properties, auto airing mode, we will be doing it, and this we will also gradually doing it. Okay, so in the bin tag means, even you can see those options here. This is a bin tag. We have added id. Okay, we have added this class, we have added this name, we have added these properties. Okay, and then let's check it here. What are the things you can add with this bin tag? These are the all things, these are the all attributes which you could add it. Okay, so this slide which I just shown you is saying what are the things we can put it with the bin tag. Sorry, yeah, with the bin tag. Okay, so these are the things which we could do. Okay, next point I want to discuss you, constructor argument resolution. Okay, what is that mean? Let me show you some examples. Here is my fo class. Okay, in my fo class I have these three dependency. One is bar, one is barge, and another one is string. Fine. To do that, what I have done is, I have all this. For the string value, I have this getter and setter injection. Okay, and this is my for default constructor, and this is my fo with the overloading constructor, right? So just like our text editor, we are passing that spell checker. Here we are bar, we have bees, and we are string name. Okay, and this is when you are calling it, this instance variable will be instantiated. Okay, and then we will be doing how this dependency getting resolved, right? Now if I go inside this application context, let me show you how to do this. Okay, so here I have this fo bin, and in this fo, what we have different constructor, right? So constructor one is the bees, constructor two is the bar. So we are just injecting all these, okay? And this reference is nothing but your ID, just like your spell checker. So here I have this fo bird bees, okay? Now what we have done it here, if you see this example, so we have to initialize this bin. Okay, so this is how we have configured the bin for and supplying the constructor accordingly. Fine. Now let me check you the for, right? Yeah, so my first constructor argument is a bar, second constructor argument is the buzz, third one is the name. Okay, but in the application context, let me go through. You see, first I have a buzz, then bar, and then indexed. Okay, so these alterations, I mean, the sequence doesn't matter actually. Okay, so if you just instead of bar, I mean, in the normal Java, okay, in the normal Java case, what we have seen is the way it is sequenced. Okay, if it is bar coming first, then bars, and then other, when you are creating the instance of that particular object with the help of this constructor, we definitely have to use the same sequence, otherwise your Java will give the exception. But when you are doing the same thing in the Spring, you see that sequence doesn't matter actually. Okay, so this is one way we have done it. I mean, initialize the constructor. Now let me run it. Fine, so it has initialized. Now I want to show you something new. So let me tell you the constructor. So this is another way you can put it, or what I could do is we can put the index also. Okay, now for the bar, first index is the, this is zeroth index, this is the one index, and this is the second index. Okay, now I'll configure same thing with the help of index. So it is a bar, so what I'll do is, this is my index, so this is index 0. Okay, and for this bars, this is the index 1, right? So now run it. See, if still it is initializing. Okay, now let me mm, show you something. So I have just create this to show you how it is getting initialized, and also in the Spring DI I have spell checker. Okay, so let me, okay, the message we are printing here, like when you are loading the Spring context, it is showing in which scenario or in which sequence these objects are getting instantiated. So I am just printing that value, that's it. Okay, so I just commented out that. Now let me run it again. Yeah, now let me check the flow. What I have done is, okay, for I have also this default constructor. So, and I am just removing all that. Okay, so I'm not printing anything. Okay, so let me done. Fine, so it is printing. Now what I'll do is, let me go to the for. Okay, so I'll check like where we had created this. Now let me go to IAM4. Where is IAM4? Yeah, so again I am commenting this because now nothing will be initiated. Okay, nothing will be printed, I guess. Let me, yeah, nothing will be printed. Okay, now let me show you the magic. Okay, so we have a for and we have a dependency bar bees and name. Okay, so when you are initializing this for, first we need the instance of this, I mean whatever the injecting bean we have, then we create the instance of f, right? Let's see how things happen. So I have a bar dependency. So here the bar, okay, the constructor bar. So I am just to displaying the message. When your bar will be initialized, I just want to print the message and say like, okay, bar is getting created and initialized. Similarly for the bars, I'll be printing the same message. Okay, now let me run it. Yeah, so your see your child objects are getting created and injected, and then your bean is going to created and through the init method. Okay, so let me show you that. Where had I mentioned that? Let me just hold on. Okay, so in the for, it child is creating. Okay, now let me put this on and run it. Okay, so now follow the sequence. Okay, I just ran it and follow the sequence how we have printed this output. This is a bars and bar. Okay, and this is a for. Okay, now go to the for. Yeah, in the for, you see, when you are calling this constructor to initialize this, so we are expecting that for parameter will be printed first. Okay, after this bar and after this business, after this name, right? But what is happening now, you see, first is injecting beans are initialized, all these and these are being initialized. Okay, after that for is getting initialized. That's why you see the message inside the for is printing at the last. Okay, so whenever we have this bean dependency in the application context, okay, all these all these depending been created later, all the childs been created first, and from this message we just can prove that that whatever the beans we are injecting, those to be instantiated first. Okay, yeah, and let me show you the constructor. Going back to constructor. Okay, so we have three constructor, and this constructor are sequence, so I'll say index 0, index 1 and index 2. Okay, now in the application context what we have is, when you are putting the constructor, okay, say I know, like, 0th is a bar, one index is a barge, and second index is a for. So accordingly we can put it haphazard manner, so, or even we can move it here and put it here also. Okay, 2 is 0 1 to reverse order, as we have mentioned the sequence in the formula index. So when this will be read, and it will be initialized accordingly. Now what will happen now, in the for I see order is bars, bar, bars and name, but in the application context we are not using the same sequence, right? Instead we are just putting an index and mentioning explicitly. Now I'll remove this index and let's see what happens. Fine, I just remove the sequence. Okay, now I'll run it. See, same output, no difference. So the basic difference, like when we are working with the Java, the sequence your constructor arguments are supplied, when you are creating the object, you have to put those reference type in a similar order, right, in the same order. But whereas in the Spring, if you just rearrange the order or put it in any order, it still get things get resolved. Fine, yeah. Now let's see what are the different types of these. Okay, so now reference and see type. Okay, what this is saying, this is your constructor argument and it is a type. Okay, so type, I'll say bar is a type of what, bar type. So this is the, let me, bar is the type of this bar type, right? It is a base class type, so I'm just putting the type. Okay, we know this reference is of the type of the bar type, right? Now I just replaced one just to see what happened, so I'm just running it again. See, this is working fine. Similarly, for example, we can supply the these type also. Okay, now for the buzz, sorry, and this is a string type. So type is java dot lang dot string. Fine. So I'll run it again. See, now I'll show you one magic also. Instead of whole, what will happen if I just put a string, right? So let's run it again. See, still work, right? Similarly, let me try to do that. So if it is that type is from the library, belongs to library, instead of whole path name, you just give the simple name, right, from the your core Java library. So best practice is we'll put this whole name, java dot lang dot string. Fine. So this will help you to reduce the ambiguity. Okay. So index we checked, name we checked, reference we checked. So whatever the options we could have given here, we tried all this. Okay. So far clear? Great. Okay. So from here we have two options. Okay. So now if you feel okay, sir, okay, I can take more. So I can go to the next topic, or we can skip it here and we'll just continue from after that. So what do you want? Continue, or we just want to revise all this? Tell me, what do you want? Shall we continue or shall we skip, leave it here, and you just want to revise it and gradually you want to practice all that, and we'll continue from the next class. Okay, shall we stop it here? Okay, fine. So tomorrow what time? Tomorrow is Monday, right? Yeah. Yeah, what time then? Oh, okay. That is fine. Fine, great. So we'll meet tomorrow. What I'll do is I'll give you this code, okay, and you just do the hands-on, and you have to do the setup and just play with the different things. Okay, so I'll give you your you already have it, right? So through the DI example, which you already have it, okay. So I'll not going to send it that, but I'll going to send it this one because you don't have it, and just play with this. And for I'll tell you, explain you what are this is doing. This is our just like spell checker. This is what already done. This is, you see, constructor, playing with constructor. So we have three classes and test how to test it. So this is your main class by which you want to run. And similarly we have some life cycle related tutorials are here. Okay, there are two things are there. So again we'll go through in tomorrow's class, so and discuss it. So all these tutorial corresponding to the life cycles are here, and when we'll go through the scope, so that tutorials are here. Okay, so this is how I have categorized, how we have modularized. Instead, if I put it all together, it is going to create a big confusion. So one package is nothing but your one tutorial. Fine. Okay, great. So thank you. We'll meet again tomorrow. Okay, now tell me one thing. During weekdays, so this 9:30 time is final for all, or what exactly? Or uh, otherwise, what we could do is maybe we could meet alternate days. Okay, one day we'll meet and go through all this, and one day you just spend 1 hour in during the session by alone, and you just go through whatever we have just discussed. Okay. So based on, like, if you take it all these in a single shot, I am okay to give you everything. If you feel no, sir, whatever we have done, we just need to spend some time, and I'll go to and revise it, and we'll come back. So that options is there. Okay. 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 So you can also take it from office. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So we will not be meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow I have some task. So we will not be meeting it tomorrow. Okay. We'll meet day after. So day after 9:30. Fine. And by that time, I'll send you this, and I believe this file will be very big actually. Okay, around 100 MB or more than that. So let me find some way. How could I upload it? If I could, then definitely I'll share the link. Okay. Chalo. Thank you.